Robin Sambruno. Robin Sambruno's calling the show this morning. I'm sure he has some thoughts about what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers. Rob, what is happening?
What's going on, folks?
What's going
on? Look, man. Hey, look. It's the same nonsense.
What's so funny, Rob? Come on. What's that laugh, man? That was one of my laughs.
I'm just laughing at, the way karma playing out right now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
I'm just laughing at it. But Mr. Schottenheimer at it again, getting out coached, his quarterback for the last 3 weeks. I actually counted 8 interceptions that he could have about 8 or 9 the last 3 weeks, but, it's been some lucky drops he done had. But now I think teams are just catching him now. That's what's happening. He's playing the same way. But I think what's happening is they're pressing the lines. They're throwing 5, 6, 7, 8 in the box. And, and Purdy's completing them passes. But then they'll do the old switcheroo on them and then go back to zone, and that's where the interception comes. Purdy just get easily fooled. That's all that is. Look at the film. They'll press down. They'll give a man like Sunday. They was giving a man. He was getting yards. He was throwing some good passes versus man coverage. And then poof, there you go. They go back to zone. There go the interception. So he gets easily fooled. And that's just being out coached. That's all that is. And the defense, man, Bosa, you got to step up. Oliver. I'm not down on Oliver. I know what Oliver is, but I thought he had a few plays. He had dropped the interception. He made a couple tackles that saved some touchdowns. So he's not a great in pass coverage, but I think if schemed up right, he can be useful for you in terms of blitzing and tackling and and stuff like that.
Can they fix this? Because a lot of Niner fans are telling me, I heard Shasky yesterday. It's Spadoni. I didn't know Spadoni was on the show sometime. No, I'm kidding. Shasky was on fire.
I played point. I had to feed my guy. He's on fire. At
no point did I say the season was over.
I didn't say you did, but the tone told me it was. Rob, what is the solution? Can this team figure it out? Can they get back on track here? They're 5-3.
Oh, yeah, well, it's still 5-3. Not like you 3-5, but yeah, they can get back on track. The defense cannot play at an average level. They got to play at a high level for the offense to really beat the offense. You can't depend, like I said, Purdy's. He's easily fooled. You see it. They got him, so they just need to run the ball, get the counter. Just play, put some speed out there. If teams gonna play you man like that, just put the rookie, our fastest guy out there and throw a go route or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kyle can change it up. I don't believe in Kyle being able to adjust. He's stuck in his ways.
Well,
that's the only 49er problem.
What is that? 0-37 now. When they're down 8+ points in the fourth quarter, is it 0-36?
0-36. Did you see the list? I read off the list of coaches that are in there. It's like Jay Gruden, Mike Nolan. It is a bad list to be on.
It's not a good list.
The one guy who was randomly on there was Zach Taylor, was like 0-20-something when trailing by 8 or more in the fourth quarter. The one thing I would say about the offense just in general right now is they just don't have a lot of one-on-one beaters, guys that can get separation immediately. Ayuk is one of those guys. Like, that's not Jennings' game. That's really not Debo's game. Debo's like a yak guy. Like, get the ball in his hands and he's going to run through somebody, maybe run by somebody every now and then. George Kittle can run good routes, but he's not a guy that they split out and utilize as a wide receiver. I thought that they would maybe, because the offense feels very congested right now, try to get some of your better personnel out there. If it means Elijah's in the backfield or Jordan Mason's in the backfield, maybe you split out CMC as a slot receiver. Maybe you employ a little Ronnie Bell just to get a look at him. Ray doesn't run routes. He's fast, but he doesn't run elite routes.
I do want to see more routes. I just want to see throws outside the numbers. I thought Cincinnati, you saw it early on when
stacked it.
When Pratt tipped the pass. Was it Pratt or Wilson? I forget who tipped the pass in the second quarter.
Yes.
It could have been a pick if it had not been tipped because there was 2 other Bengals right around there. They were sitting on the slants and the end routes. The book is out. Cleveland sat on the slants and end routes. Minnesota sat on the slants and end routes. Cincinnati sitting on the slants and end routes. So what's the adjustment? What is the adjustment moving forward? Is it going back down the field? I thought they did some good things in the second half offensively. They kind of play street ball a little bit. Brock Purdy in this offense.
Well, he was running for his life.
He was running for his life. They started playing a little street ball. They made some plays happen. I thought Kittle being used in the pass game was a positive. but they got to figure out who they want to be. They got to figure out where they want to pass the ball. They got to get back to running the football. Well, first and foremost.
That's the number one thing. And they did take some shots downfield. I think they had at one point 5 20-plus yard plays from a passing standpoint. They might have finished with more of those. They did hit, like, Ayuk caught a couple. Ayuk dropped one, too, off the face mask.
He did. Right, it was a tough play.
Well, was that into the sun?
No, it wasn't into the sun, but he's got to catch that.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was into the sun. Right? I don't care if the sun was beaming at him.
Purdy made a good throw.
He's got to make that catch because then you get in the field goal range, and all of a sudden it's a 14-13 game at the half instead of 14-10. All right,
exactly.
We're playing Know the Show. Something is going to happen on this show in the next 15 minutes. At 7:50, be the first caller to call in and answer the question about what happened on the show first, and you will be on your way to Chase Center to play in the first ever 95-70 game knockout tournament and the Shark Week, man. Let's go. Baldy, presented by our proud partner Golden State, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. Building better, starts with Golden State. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. We talk to Baldy every single week. Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL, NFL Network, Westwood One. He's the best in the business when it comes to breaking down the tape and figuring out what's going on with the football team. And right now, we got problems. Things are spooky during a Halloween for the 49ers as they've lost their 3rd straight and really got dominated by the Cincinnati Bengals in all aspects of the football game. Special teams, at the line of scrimmage, offense, defense, you name it. It was just not a good day for the red and gold. But we got to start with the quarterback. Whenever the team wins, we give the quarterback all the praise. When they lose, we criticize the quarterback to death. It's not all his fault, but there has been some problems with Brock Purdy here. And Baldy, I guess we'll start there. What is going on with Brock Purdy? What is going on here with him? Is it the progressions? Is it the lack of anticipation? What is going on with Brock Purdy right now through the last, 3 weeks of the season?
Well, I mean, the turnovers are for real. I mean, you throw the interception at the 8-yard line. You call a shovel pass to Kittle, and they take it away. And now he's trying to, rescue the play down there on the 8-yard line. You hope that the ball comes out of his hands better than it did, and Jermaine Pratt can't tip it to himself for an interception. That play hurt. Could have tied it up right there. But I don't know. Like, he's seen the field real well. There was no run game. I mean, if he's the leading rusher on your team, on this team, that's a problem. And so that's the biggest issue right now to me. I mean, Brock Purdy, if you just want him to drop back and throw it, he'll throw for 365 yards, but you might score 17 points, and you might turn it over. So it's not about throwing for yards or any of that stuff. It's about sustaining offense right now. They're having a hard time sustaining offense. That's why they're scoring 17 points a game.
Baldy, what exactly is going on defensively right now with this team? It feels like quarterbacks are absolutely shredding them. The completion percentage has got to be close to 92%, and they're getting anything they want in the passing game. Why is that? Is that pass rush? Is that coverage? There's just a lot of talk, and people don't know what's going on right now defensively.
Yeah, I mean, the pass rush is not winning, Joe. I mean, we've said it now 3 weeks in a row. Joe Burrow got out of a couple issues that he had, where they had him trapped and they just couldn't get him to the ground, and that's just credit to Joe. But for the most part, Joe, this is they're just not affecting the quarterback the way they're supposed to. Yeah. And the second team, when Bosa and Armstead, and Hargrave aren't in there, is not doing anything. I mean, they've always had a wave of pass rushers, 8 deep. And sometimes I see them dress 9. And I don't see the second wave, whether it's Givens or whoever it is, I don't see them making any sort of impact right now.
A lot of people out here, Baldy, are coming down on the DC, Steve Wilks, especially for the play call before halftime in the Minnesota game. I heard your clip with Willard Dibbs about not liking what Shanahan said. I'm with you. I thought he threw his DC under the bus, and I did not like that. That was something that probably should have been handled behind closed doors. But when I look Sunday and I'm at the game, Baldy, for my seats, I'm saying to myself, well, Steve Wilks can't tackle for this team. Steve Wilks can't rush the passer for this team. Is it scheme at all? Is there anything like what can Steve Wilks do differently for this defense? Because I see a lot of problems through the players, not just the DC.
Well, the tackling was an issue for sure. But you look at what Joe Burrow did. I mean, you throw 4 incompletions and 3 touchdowns. I mean, I think Joe texted me during the game saying something, something about this guy's, like he's the best. I mean, he is. His ball comes out on timing like nobody else's. And so they're a zone team, and you kind of know where they're going to be. There's not a lot of surprises. They're just very disciplined in what they do. And right now, I mean, even going back to Cleveland, but you look at what they have done. Teams have carved them up in the pass game right now. And the ball's coming out quickly for the most part, and they kind of know where they're going to be. And they're just not, you want to have some impactful hits. When you're in zone coverage, you want to get a good jump on the ball. Somebody beside, Fred Warner's got to make a play in the passing game, and nobody seems to be able to do that right now.
Yeah, it felt like Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow conducting it at the line, audibly and going to whatever he wanted. At one point, he was under center. He audibled. He goes to a shotgun and then runs. It was like a designed run for a first down. I mean, he was brilliant. And I thought Zach Taylor's timing, this is like now a couple of weeks in a row, whether it's the screen passes, some of the misdirections, some of the creativity, it just feels like the offenses are a step ahead of what the Niners want to do. Is that more just, hey, credit that OC, they're doing a great job? Or is there something that the Niners are doing that is very predictable and teams are on it? Like what exactly is it? It just feels like the OCs are a step ahead of us.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. But Minnesota got the ball out fast. But even when Kirk Cousins or last week Joe Burrow wanted to take shots and had to hold on to it, whether they're under center, play action. It's the first time Joe's gone to play action the whole year under center. He just hasn't been able to. So it shows that he's getting healthier. But, these teams are kind of doing whatever they want to do because they're just, this team is built around their front four, and they're not winning. You look at, like, Zeus is he's a guy that you can beat at left tackle. And I didn't see Nick beat him at left tackle. He got close to Joe Burrow a few times, but, close isn't going to affect a lot of these throws from elite passers in this league. They're used to being able to throw the ball like that. Not hitting the quarterback, Joe. You got to hit the quarterback. Good things happen when you hit the quarterback, and they're not hitting them right now. They haven't hit him. And so that's when good things happen to this defense. That's when Afanga shows up, tip balls. That's when the ball's a little bit not as accurate as it wants to be. You got to affect the quarterback more than they have. I would say Joe Burrow got back on that plane ride to go back to Cincinnati. First of all, he probably had his swag on all the way, but he probably didn't have a single mark on his body.
No, he didn't. No grass.
A single mark, and we just saw Kirk Cousins go 45 passes, without a single mark. Like, that's not how this team is supposed to play. And you could say, okay, new defensive coordinator. I'm with you, Bonte. Yeah. Like, I don't care who's calling the plays. Right. Me and you could call plays. Yep. The front four's got to win. I haven't seen Javon Hargrave make a play in 3 weeks. All I did last year, I saw him make plays every single week in Philadelphia. I haven't seen him make a play in 3 weeks.
So what did Nick Bosa do prior to this year that was so successful, and what is he not doing this year? Because
he's not hitting the quarter.
Well, I know, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, what is it? What is it?
I don't know if missing the offseason has much effect. I wouldn't think. A guy that probably never gets out of shape, stays in shape. He's strictly a power rusher right now. We have said that. You don't see a spin move. You don't see a two-handed swipe. You're just not seeing a lot of variety. Now, the ball's out quick in a lot of cases. That's all right. Defensive linemen know that. You got to get them into situations where they got to hold it on 3rd and 13. You got to get them to those situations where they got to hold it an extra tick, where you're going to have a little bit more time to collapse the pocket. But I don't see twist stunts really working right now. You think about, go back to the playoff game, Joe. Go back to the playoff game against Seattle. And, Charles Omenihu gets the ball out of
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith's hands.
Quarter, yep.
All right, that's a twist stunt with him and Bosa. Bosa recovers the fumble. Like, they affected, like, that game was in a balance right there until Omenihu got the ball out. Like, I'm not seeing their twist stunts working. Like, they don't do a lot. They overload one side, twist back to the other side, run twist stunts. You just go back to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's DeForest Buckner and Bosa running a twist stunt, and Bosa gets there just just doesn't get enough. Gets the ball out of Mahomes' hands. They just don't recover it. But I just see the twist stunts working right now.
Even when Randy Gregory, it feels like the offense knows, okay, Gregory's coming in. There may be a twist stunt. They're all over it. Drake Jackson, another guy I haven't heard from since. Is he still in Pittsburgh, Baldy? I mean, seriously.
Really.
He hasn't made a play since he left Acrisure Stadium.
No, I would say if there's one disappointing player on this whole team right now, it's Drake Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I saw such promise last year.
Yep.
And I saw ankle flexion, I saw effort, and I saw all that. I haven't seen him do anything. Like, you can have all the talent in the world. I mean, if you're not hitting a quarterback in this business, I mean, you're just taking up a roster spot.
No
that's just what you're doing.
No, you can't stop the run. Teams are running right at number 95. Now, there's talks during the bye week that Shanahan and Wilks will meet, and Wilks may come down to the booth. I mean, he's come down from the booth to the field. Is that a big difference, Baldy, whether defense coordinator's in the booth, on the field? Are we making too big of a deal of that? What's going on with that? Kind of break it down because you played the game.
Dan Quinn, he coordinates the Cowboys defense. He sits up in a booth.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start, honestly, Bonte, if you start saying, well, is this going to make a difference? Like, if you're thinking about a coach is upstairs or downstairs, like, maybe that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
Not that he's upstairs or downstairs. It's like, who gives a
right?
Like, nobody gives a crap.
Right.
Like, call the defense.
Right.
Like, if the guy's down the field, honestly, hell, if Shanahan's upstairs calling the plays, call the plays upstairs. Like, it should make a difference. The play's to play. You got to execute the play.
I'm with you.
And so, I'm sure you got the bye week. I'm sure there's all kinds of, player-only meetings, which is always a problem. But look, they've lost 3 in a row. By the time they get to the field, the next time, they will not have won a game in a month. The one thing I'll say about that, I saw the exact same thing happen to the Rams 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. You go back and you look at the middle of the season, they lost 3 in a row, and it went during the bye week, and they went a month without winning a game. And there's, just imagine McVay, Shanahan, these guys. Like, no, they're not sleeping at night. They're wired out of their skull. They're discussing coordinators should be upstairs, down. They're trying to fix whatever they think might help, whatever it is. But I know this. If you take 2 of the runs out of Christian McCaffrey's repertoire in the last 3 weeks, I wrote this down yesterday because I went back and watched it. He's got 36 runs for 99 yards in the last 2 weeks if you take 2 runs out.
Wow.
Like, that's just not good enough.
Is that because
say Trent Williams isn't in there?
Yeah,
but,
right.
They're built around the run game.
Well, that was my next question about this offensive line. They have not run the ball the last 3 weeks. Now, Cleveland, I get it's a tough deal. It's a great, great front up there in Cleveland, Ohio. But when you can't run the ball,
run against them,
that's what I'm saying, Baldy. That's what I'm saying. The Minnesota in the first half had success running the football. And Joe Mixon, I thought his legs were dead. This guy looked like he was back at Norman, Oklahoma again. I mean, he ran over Drake Greenlaw in the second quarter, setting the tone. But on the other side, I'm looking at our offensive line, the 49ers. Why can't they open up holes for Chris McCaffrey? Is Brindle taking a step back? McKivitz, Burford? What's going on with this offensive line right now?
They're running the same plays. They're running the same plays they ran the first 5 games of the season that they ran last year with McCaffrey. The exact same plays. Wind back. They pull, tight end to the other side, double the edge. They obviously miss Trent because they're a big left-handed team, and almost every play, it's like watching a Cowboys game. Every play ends up behind Zach Martin. No matter where it starts, it ends up behind Zach. And you watch Trent, and almost every play you run ends up behind him. Whether you're going right or left, it ends up behind him. He's just that much of a difference maker. So that's part of it. But that's, look, everybody loses players, and great players. Everybody does. So you have to overcompensate. You can't put that on more right now. Like, they have to be better than what they're doing right now. And that's it's subtle things. Like, they're not a big blow the defense off the ball offensive line to begin with. They're a stretch team, and they're looking for cutbacks, and motions are supposed to do some things, but nobody seems very caught up in any of their motions or shifts at this point right now. They seem like they kind of know exactly what's coming. So I would say, like, Kyle's got to go and really coach himself up and look at what he's doing. And I'd say he probably has to make some changes right now.
Yeah, their drop back passing game leaves a lot to be desired. Always has. Kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Like when they're really throwing it well, it's off that play action where they turn their back and they're throwing anticipation, layered throws against zone. I'm just looking at Brock Purdy. Like when you look at a quarterback and you're evaluating the quarterback, right? We all agree. Whether you're Brady, whether you're Nick Mullins, or somewhere in between, you can't turn the ball over in the fourth quarter. And you can't turn the ball over at any time if there's only 10 or 11 possessions in a game. But how do you weigh this? Like when a guy looks really good for like 3 quarters, because I thought Minnesota, he looked great for like 3 quarters, and then that fourth quarter wasn't great. And then same thing again last week. I thought he was under duress and made plays. He did rip the ball down the field. He did make plays, and he responded after the 2 interceptions. He did have a nice drive. How do you weigh that as a former player, as somebody who's looking at it? Like, do the interceptions and the negative plays, especially in the red zone, do they outweigh all the good things? Do I dismiss all the turnovers and say, hey, look at all the positive? Like, how does the fan supposed to kind of compartmentalize?
You can't dismiss it, Joe.
Okay.
Your question it's a great question.
Do you get where I'm going?
No. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Because to say that he played like crap is a lie.
No, Josh Allen goes through the same thing.
Okay.
Like, do you want Josh Allen to be Josh Allen, or are you going to be like worried about turnovers? But you definitely have to worry about him. But you can't, like, to throw to McCaffrey for a touchdown. You can't say don't make that throw. Yeah. Like that leads to turnovers. You can't say that to him. He sees the field in a special way, so he makes that throw on the roll. Like, I don't know how he saw him, but he did, and he made a good throw. And they got back in the game a little bit, but I'm not sure you can take that out of the guy. Like, look, the interception by Jermaine Pratt happens on those type of plays. It just happens. It happens to everybody. You don't want it to happen at the 8-yard line. You'd love to wish that on first down, just throw the ball out of bounds. The shovel pass is taken away. You don't really have a good option. You'd love to say just, end the play there. But that's hard for a guy like that because he's used to saying, I can make something out of this. And he has, for the most part. For a 10-game stretch, he did almost every single week without making a mistake. But now the mistakes are showing up. And so now what happens, Joe, honestly, is the team isn't good enough right now to overcome the mistakes. That's really where you're at. Like, this team looks like, at least on paper, at least the way they played the first 5 weeks, the way they played most of the season last year, they were good enough to overcome the mistakes. They were good enough when Jimmy was there making his mistakes. They overcame them. They're not good enough right now to overcome these mistakes.
Baldy, maybe this is a dumb question or whatnot, but the last 3 weeks, I noticed a lot of teams, starting with Jim Schwartz, sitting on the Niners, and we know they're staple. The stretch run game, the slants, the in routes. Kyle loves the middle of the field. Are they becoming too predictable on offense?
Good question, Bonte, because they definitely love those cuts. And they hit them, a couple of them the other day. But they are built on that. Jim Schwartz was all over it. That's how Emerson got his interception. It wasn't a great throw by Brock. But, that's how he got his interception, just riding that upfield shoulder of Brandon Ayuk on that play. And so they are definitely sitting on these cuts. Yeah. And after a while, you watch enough tape, you go, okay, this is 15 yards. This is 20 yards. You kind of know where the cuts are coming. And so that's where Debo can come in because you can still make that play, and he just is so good after the catch. You're losing all those yak yards that Debo gave you throughout last year, the year before, the first 5 games of this year.
Back to the defense, one last question that I keep looking at. Like, they brought in this guy, Charvarius Ward, last year. You referenced Hargrave this year, high-paid free agent, and he was good, and then all of a sudden it's been like a disappearing act. Charvarius Ward was good for them last year. Like, they needed, I don't know if he's CB1, because maybe not every team has a lockdown corner, but I thought he was good for the Niners last year. This year, it just feels like he's getting cooked, and when he ain't getting cooked, he's holding, he's grabbing, and clutching. I mean, multiple times they're picking up flags because not only is he holding and clutching, but guys are catching the ball down the field. If you told me he had 20 holds for PIs this year, I'd believe you because of how many that have been picked up. What is going on with Charvarius Ward?
Well, I mean, these guys that live on the edge like that, Joe, like, you want them to have a short-term memory, which most of them do, but you got to get the hands off these guys. I mean, there's just ways to play. You just can't get your hands. If you want to get your hands on them, get them in the first 5 yards. But, this grabbing and clutching down the field is nonsense. Like, that's a disciplined thing. The only reason why you hold or grab in this business, Joe, the only reason is because you're beat and you're not in position.
Yeah.
That's why an offensive lineman holds, because he's not in position.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get yourself in better position. So how do you do that? All right, better film study, understanding what they do. Like, if you talk to, I'm not saying Travarius doesn't do this. I'm sure he does. But if you talk to the elite corners, let's just say Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, whatever, but take the guys at the top of this, they'll all tell you that from certain splits, they run certain routes. Down distance is important, okay? Who you're playing against. Like, what's coming at you. Now, you can't always be right and you can't guess. But you have to give yourself that chance that this could be a double move. This is going to be a slant from this split. This is when they run comeback. This is when they run spray fade. Like, you have to be on top of this stuff. You literally, these guys that play on the edge, and you listen to them talk football with you, you're like, they know that much? Yeah. Like, they're just a sponge on information, and every single piece helps them so that they're in position to make the play. They're not grabbing. They're not clutching. They're not got the hand on the hip. All those things that to play to their advantage right now.
Adversity has hit the 49ers. We'll see how they bounce back from it. They've done well 3 of the last 4 years when facing adversity. We'll see what happens this year. Baldy, where are you going to be at this weekend?
I'm going to be in Baltimore to watch the first play Seattle Seahawks play.
Oh, Big Cat Williams, Leonard. You going to chop it up with Leonard?
Up. I'll talk to
M&T Bank Stadium. Leonard Williams, Frank Clark. Oh,
I got a photo from Baldy standing next to Geno Smith. Huh? That's your guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I go back to Geno when he was with the Jets.
Gotcha.
At different places. But, it's interesting. Chuck Smith, who's a longtime pass rusher in this league, ran a pass rush academy in Atlanta for years. And the Ravens hired him this year to be the pass rush specialist.
Oh, wow.
It's noted that the Ravens lead this league in sacks.
Huh.
And Seattle did the same thing. They hired a pass rush specialist as well, and they're 4th in the league in sacks right now.
Wow.
Like, rushing the passer is an art, and you can never stop working on it.
No doubt about that. That's a damn good game, Baldy. Baltimore, Seattle, out there at M&T Bank Stadium.
Please,
Lamar Jackson playing so well. We got to see Lamar on Christmas Day out here, Baldy. Not looking forward to that one with the Ravens.
My wife's
the MVP to me.
Yeah, he looks great. That division, man, is really good with Cincinnati, Cleveland, and, of course, Baltimore. Baldy, you're the best.
Go on my Twitter and look at the play I put on Lamar last night.
Oh, we watched it all.
I watched it.
Baldy, you're terrible for morning shows, Baldy, because you can go down the rabbit hole on your Twitter page and just look at their highlight, Even my best friend, Big Dog City, is like, Baldy always said this about Jamar Chase. He's always complaining about being open, but Baldy even said it. He's always open. I was like, damn, you've been catching the casuals, Baldy. We can't get enough of you, man. Stop putting out videos so late in the night. Can't get any sleep around here. Baldy, you're the man. Have fun in Baltimore.
See you, bud.
Yep. All right, see you guys.
Brian Baldinger here on the morning. We're also on 95.7 The Game.